So for step 9, attaching the spur gear. Well, we're going to have our spur gear here that's got to go onto this shaft, and then it goes through these two bearings before being placed into the gearbox. And then after that, it's just a matter of putting the gearbox cover over top and we'll be finished with the gearbox. But I still think this is really weird because obviously there's the screws, there's the shaft, there's no mention of the bearings or the sizings. So when you see G3, I'm using this as a reference just to see what on earth they're talking about, because there we go, G, and you go all the way to the bottom to number 3, those plastic bushings basically, which match up with the two bearings that I have to replace them. But again, and I don't know if I'm saying this too much, with this kit in particular, I would suggest getting a set of bearings if you're going to use this at all, because I find this so weird that they're using a plastic parts tree with bits as your bushings. I don't quite get it. But anyway, let's set this up and we'll put it together. So right off the bat, I think we'll grease up the spur gear. Now, I will say that you may want to be a little bit more conservative with the grease than I was, because this is definitely empty. I don't have any more. So I'm pulling out the tuba grease that I tend to pick up. It's got a nice end on it. And we're going to have to start using this for the grease because obviously the other one I'm out. So we will load this up. Now, because I have these spare tubes, I'm not too worried about how much I put on. I'd rather put more in the gearbox than not enough. And I have other spares. Or I should say I have other tubes of this. So I'm not too worried about how much I put on now. I was hoping, I was trying to see what it would be like using the other one as to whether you could get through the kit without, running out. And I've pretty much proven you can't unless you're a little bit more conservative. And like I said, I thought I was being somewhat conservative, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I got everything covered. Now, there's another thing you're going to have to watch out for with this one. This pin, they say they need to grease it, so I will. So just a second here, I'll explain what I'm finding at the moment. So that's good enough for now. Grab our spur. We're going to slide that through, and you can see that there are the two bushings, but we're replacing them with the bearings, which is fine. So we've got one on this end, and we've got one on the other end. However, there is one thing you're going to need to watch out for. Now, if that's going to go, this one seems tight. This one doesn't seem to want to sit on the bushing very well. I don't know why. See, this one slides onto the bearing no problem. This side seems to be having a little trouble. I'm just going to take that off for a second and see what I'm dealing with. There we go. I just put a little bit of pressure on that in order to make that work. But one of the things I was going to say is that the one thing you're going to have to watch out for is the way this goes in. So let's say this bearing was loose. In order to put it into the gearbox, you can see that you've got to slide this all the way down, and you don't want that bearing to go missing. So I've got to make sure that that goes down in there okay. There we go. And it's fine. But if the bearing was loose, it might move. And then it would be stuck inside the gearbox, and you'd have to fiddle your way to try and get it out, hopefully, as long as it didn't get stuck. Now, this is done. So the gearbox the gear is nicely meshing with the pinion gear. So that's good. And then, of course, this is going to fit into the other side of the gearbox. So I'll grab the cover. So here is the other side of the gearbox, so basically the gear cover. And you can see that the bearing is going to have to sit inside that hole. So we're going to need to match this up to make sure that that's going to work. So in order to fit that on, that would end up sitting like that. So I just got to make sure that that bearing is going to sit, there we go, in place. Okay, that's worked out. So now we've got the one screw there, one screw there, and one screw there. So I'm just going to screw this side on, just so we've got something in place. We'll do the same thing with this one here. And again on the other side. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It seems to be fitting well, so I will start screwing this in all the way. So there we go. There is our gearbox, and if I move this is now stiffer, but you can hear the motor spinning too. So everything feels fine to me. So there we go. There is our gearbox. Very, very cool. So that part is finished. So we are finished with step 9. So we are going to move on to now step 10, which is the chassis frame, and we're also going to move to bag B.